Welcome back, everybody. This is Darson Grantham with the, this is the Market Makers. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. This is Darson Grantham with the Iowa Market Makers in Real Estate podcast. Today we have a new guest, a new type of guest. I haven't had an economic development director with around Des Moines on the podcast, but I'm going to start having some of these folks on just to help agents and lenders tell a better story about Des Moines. One of the things that I think has helped me in my business as a real estate agent is when someone's moving here, I can talk pretty educatedly about the different suburbs of Des Moines. I'm not an expert in any one of the suburbs, but I've scratched the surface and I know enough about most of the suburbs. Now, if you go dig deep into any one of these, you'll be able to blow me out of the water, and Chad will be able to do that about Altoona as his position is the economic development director in Altoona. So, Chad, thank you for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you bet. Tell us a little bit about, before you got the longest job title. Every realtor has like realtor, right? You have the longest job title of anyone that's been on the podcast. But yeah, tell us, what did you do before the job you have right now?
Sure. So I went to college actually to be a planner, a city planner.
Okay.
Iowa State has a degree program for that. When I was there a long time ago, they were one of 8 undergrad programs in the country that had a community and regional planning program. Yeah. So I got a degree in community and regional planning, got a job out of college, worked in Northeast Iowa for about 5 years. I wasn't doing a lot of city planning. I was doing a lot of grant management, working on hazard mitigation plans and things like that. So I really wanted to try to get into city planning more. And my wife wanted to get closer to family. We started having kids. So found a job in the newspaper in Altoona.
In the newspaper?
Yeah.
Yes.
Back in the newspaper.
Yes.
Applied for it, got an interview, got the job, and started with Altoona in June of 2001.
Oh, wow.
As a city planner.
Cool. So you've been with one city essentially as the planning, or in that arena for a while.
Yep. Have been.
Do you think this is totally off topic, but I'm a nerd, so I'm just going to ask, since Iowa State had that program, do you see more like better planning in the Midwest because people went to Iowa State and you kind of, you don't want to go too far away and you kind of come from that area? Does that make sense?
So there's a lot of programs in the Midwest, especially, that have master's degree programs in urban planning. So I think the level of planning, I don't know that it's any better or worse because of that program, but there are, it has certainly a rural focus.
Okay.
Because you can go out and do a lot of county planning in counties themselves. Yeah. So
it seems like I'm not the most versed traveler, but I've been impressed with the Des Moines metros, like their planning, just the planning, how it flows, how the growth has gone. As someone who's very experienced in that, is it something to be is it pretty rare, or is what we're doing it's pretty good?
No, I think it is pretty good. It's difficult it takes effort, I should say, to sit down, work with other cities, plan road projects, especially when you're talking about widening projects and improvements with things. I mean, you don't just stop at the border. It takes a lot of effort. And luckily, in the Des Moines metro area in particular, we've got a really good organization called the Des Moines MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization, and they help coordinate a lot of those traffic things.
Gotcha.
So,
is that a for-profit? Is that a state?
No, it's a quasi-governmental agency, kind of a 2080 agreement thing where the governments work together. It's some of it stems from federal legislation.
Right.
Metro areas around the country have this, but I think ours works really well.
Yeah, I've been impressed with all the suburbs communicating with all the other suburbs, and how it's a little bit of a competition. I've heard Ankeny director speak and Waukee director speak, and there's a little combative, fun, poking fun at each other, but all around they care about each other's growth.
Yep, I agree. And that's one of the really good things about Des Moines, that like we were talking about off camera, there's growth happening all over the metro. So we don't really have to compete too much with different things. And even as economic development people, we're the same way. We're supportive of each other. Every town's getting a little different project, but every town is growing. So.
Right. And you want to get the big bid, but if they get it, you're going to have some offshoot and some revenue come in in some way, one
Absolutely.
or another.
Yeah. And it's so easy to get around the metro too, that, you don't have to live on one side of the metro and just that's where you shop, that's where you eat, that's where you do everything. You can get to one side in 30 minutes, 35 minutes. So.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so I went off topic there a little bit. That background, you started working at Altoona in 2001.
Yep.
And never left.
Never left.
Okay.
Yep.
What's the biggest change from 2001 to now in Altoona?
Man, the size of the boundaries.
Okay.
Back then,
The size of the boundaries.
yeah, we were probably about 10,000 people in the year 2000, and 10,000 people. Is that what I said? Yeah, 10,000 people, and we probably encompass somewhere in the neighborhood of 6, 7, 8 square miles.
Okay.
I think we're 12 or 13 square miles now. We're working on a couple of big annexations
Almost doubled.
now. Yeah, that'll come about, and the metro's done the same thing. Almost every city's grown out in different directions.
Yeah.
Population growth has been instrumental in that, as well as a lot of the big commercial and regional projects that you've seen throughout the metro. The data centers have been big.
Yeah.
The transportation logistics stuff has been big in Altoona in particular, but other suburbs too. We built a lot of warehouse. Some of the attractions that we have in Altoona, the outlet mall, Bass Pro Shops, those have all happened in the last 10 or so years. So all those things have just, continued to add to the growth of the metro.
Yeah, we live down Cumming, Winterset area, so kind of the opposite of Altoona.
Yep.
But we went to the Big Steer the other night. It was literally 2 weeks ago. And the outlet mall development and how much future development there is right there that's just waiting to be done. Like it's going to get there, and we all know it because we've seen like Jordan Creek. We've seen where we know what it's going to look like. It's so hard to envision, but it's
It
so
will,
cool.
yeah. It's just a matter of time.
Yeah. Yep. The annexing has always been a fascinating process to me. What's that? How do cities decide that, or how can you explain how Altoona decided that, and where does it? What are the limitations? I guess.
Yeah, so it really kind of starts with the property owners. They're the ones that come to us. We don't go out and solicit that stuff. So
Really?
the property owners come to us and say, "Hey, I'd like to annex my land." And a lot of it for now, nowadays, is because they see the dollar signs. Honestly, I mean, they've got a piece of ground that, their family or parents bought for X amount of dollars, and now they can sell it for $35,000 an acre for residential land, even more for commercial and industrial growth. So I think they start to see that. They're not farmers anymore. They just happen to own the land still because the family did. So that's how a lot of that starts. Now, certainly some other pieces we have to put together because there's 3 ways we can do it, either an involuntary, an 80-20 voluntary, or a completely voluntary. So the state has some rules that they want us to work within. We're also not allowed to create islands. So there's some different things that we have to work around there, but for the most part, all of the land, the big chunks at least, are coming to us asking to be annexed.
Is that typically before or after a developer gets their hands on it?
Usually it's before, but sometimes it is after.
Yeah.
Yep. I think in the long run, the developer understands certainly the goal. Most developers aren't holding on to land. I mean, they want to develop it.
Yeah.
And one of those pieces is they need to get it annexed. They got to get water. They got to get sewer.
They likely aren't going to purchase it before it's annexed due to the risk of not being able to be annexed or be whatever they want it to be.
Yep.
Cool. As realtors, and we have folks that are looking at Altoona versus other parts of the metro, what's your sales pitch of, hey, buy a house, come into the Altoona area, like that agents can share with their clients that are coming?
We still have residential tax abatement. We're one of the few cities left in the metro that has that. So it's a 5-year, $75,000 for owner-occupied units. Most of the rest of the metro has gotten rid of that.
Yeah.
The other thing too is I think our land is probably still very competitively priced compared to probably, especially the western suburbs.
Like a price per square foot. You're getting more bang for your buck.
Yep.
For new build type stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. The tax abatement program, can you explain, in layman's terms, what does that mean for a home owner? And is it just new sale? Is it resale? What's that look like?
You have to make an improvement. So it's generally just for new sales.
Okay.
Yep. So it's $75,000 for the first 5 years. So if you have a house that is worth $175,000, it brings that total down to $100,000.
Gotcha.
So you're just paying the tax on that.
Yep. Cool.
The more expensive house, obviously, it's not quite as big of a tax break, but anything's good in this day and age.
Right. What else should, what other things that realtors can share with what is the job market? How much more, is there any employers that are really growing there that have shown growth, or what's that look like?
The transportation logistics stuff has been big. Facebook's got, Meta, they've got, about 400 permanent employees out at that property. We still continue to see job growth in those phases and aspects of town. It's really easy to get around the metro from Altoona. You're quick onto the Interstate 80. The university's just to the south as well. The bypass makes it really convenient too. And the one really kind of neat thing about Altoona is we're almost two towns. We've got an area along the interstate and the bypass that are really heavy in commercial and industrial. There's a lot of visitors that come to that area, as well as the residents that'll go out there for shopping and dining and things like that. We have about 4 million visitors a year that come to town to see our different attractions. But once you get past that, it's really a nice, quiet town of 23,000 people. We're trying to attract a few more commercial projects into those areas with some restaurants and shopping things for the neighborhoods. But for the most part, it kind of separates us two towns. So it still has kind of a, this really cliche and gets overused, but it kind of has a small town feel because you're not mixing a lot of the commercial traffic with that residential traffic.
Yeah, the traffic is the big thing.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. That's very true how that works. It's because it's on the interstate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you have the casino, and you have eventually a lot of that. What about the I always say, if people haven't been here, the parks per capita in the Des Moines metro is ridiculous. We have parks all over. Is that Altoona same situation?
Same way, yeah. And we have parkland that's owned by the city that isn't even annexed into the city. We're getting ready to start development of one of those areas kind of on the far southwest side of town that we got back from the DOT when they did the bypass project. We bought it from them. It'll be a real natural park, just a lot of natural walking trails and creeks through there. We kind of call it the Twin Creeks area. We may end up giving it another name, but here, I think with the new budget that starts July 1st, we'll start to put a parking lot in there so people will get better access into that area. And right now, there hasn't been that. But parks is certainly one of the things. The quality of life is it's important for people. It's not something, I don't know how much you think about that when you're looking for a house. I mean, you're really looking at the house, you're looking at the neighborhood and the schools, but certainly you want access to parks and trails too, because you want things for kids to do. Yeah,
it totally depends. It depends on what you're house shopping for.
Yeah.
Because I talked to someone literally on the way over here that's moving here from San Antonio, and he goes, I love Frisbee golf. They're getting ready to retire. His wife still works, and I love Frisbee golf, and my wife is an avid biker. So we need to be close to Frisbee golf and bike trails. And I was like, that's like the entire metro.
Yeah.
So let's narrow it down a little bit further. I don't know.
Well, and who would have thought dog parks were a thing 20 years
dog
ago?
Parks.
Those are important now too. I've seen some discussion recently, and we've talked about it. We have a pretty small one about we probably need to get a bigger dog park.
Yeah. Well, I mean, people they care more about their dogs than their kids. I mean,
a lot of money.
They listen better.
Yeah. We have a lot of pet stores. I think most towns do.
Who would, tread lightly here, but who would not want to move to Altoona? Like, what does that person look like? And be careful, right?
If you're looking for an urban environment where you want to walk on, concrete sidewalks and have big buildings really close and a lot of restaurants within walking distance, it's probably not the right fit for you. Yeah. But most of the suburbs are like that.
Yes.
You get downtown Des Moines, there are certainly a lot of people that live downtown Des Moines and like that aspect. And I could see that being very attractive to certain age groups.
Yeah.
But if you're interested in getting out and enjoying parks and don't have to walk to every restaurant and every store you go to, I think Altoona and the suburbs are a good fit.
Yeah. Cool. What's coming up in the next 1 to 2, 3, 4 years? We had Ankeny come to our office at Keller Williams here, I don't know, 6 months ago, and like the number of projects they have on the horizon is just like, I would say if they do half the things they say they're going to do, it's like Ankeny's cool, but it's going to have a lot of things. What do you guys have kind of coming up? Any big projects, any special parks, anything like that?
Well, I talked about the one park that we're going to get going.
Twin Creeks,
so that'll be really nice. Some of the other things too, we have a new park as well, kind of on the southeast side of town, Burgett Park, named after one of our past mayors, that will build a large community center.
Cool.
That's not really something we have at this point in time. We've got a couple of community centers, but they're smaller. This will be a bigger venue, also an all-inclusive playground access. There's a couple of decent-sized lakes there as well, so some fishing piers and trails around those. Some of the other things that are, you don't really see the benefit of it, but you will the spin-off of it. So we're going to be building a new public works facility. And what that does is frees up some property in our Old Town area. So once we can get the Parks Department, Streets Department out of those facilities, we'll be able to put those on the market. And part of that will be then able to redevelop the Old Town area. It's something we've started. City Council's invested some money. We have a new mural down there. We're developing a new park this year down there that'll start here probably within the next week or two. Yeah. It'll be nice. We have some folks that have invested some money and built a new commercial building down there. So some of that will just create some of that momentum, and vacating those properties from a public need and getting them into private property with developers. They're right on the bike trail. So I'm really excited to see what those things will turn into over the next few years. Yeah.
Is there any projects with your kind of neighboring cities? You got Bondurant, Pleasant Hill, maybe Carlisle, maybe?
Yeah,
not
Carlisle,
really Carlisle.
not, yeah,
but
but
down there.
Yeah, but certainly Bondurant and Pleasant Hill.
Yeah.
We talk to them regularly. I talk with their economic development people regularly. We're always looking where the streets are going to connect, where trails are going to connect. We've both talked about those things recently. Bondurant's got a park that they're planning to come to the south. Pleasant Hill's got some road work and some trail work that's coming up from the south. So those things will be connecting as well.
Yeah, connecting all the bike trails. It just continue.
It's important.
Yeah,
yep.
It is.
Yep. And then where Southeast Polk will build another elementary school.
Yeah.
Somewhere in the Pleasant Hill, Altoona area in the near future. They'll just need to. Yeah. But I think they have land purchase in both cities for that. So
yeah, I was going to ask the school systems and how that's connecting, or was there someone who doesn't know anything or very much about that side? What's the school system, or not school systems, but what's the kind of school layout for Southeast Polk and any surrounding schools?
They just built opened a new middle school this year. So it's a 6th, 7th grade building, and that's in Altoona, kind of on our east side of town, right next to our Samwise Youth Sports Complex. I don't know exactly how that fits into their bigger picture, but my guess is that gives them a number of years before they need to build another high school. So they moved.
Took some pressure off the high school.
Yeah, so the 6th and 7th graders are combined in a building. Now the 8th and 9th graders are in a building. So they kicked the 9th graders out of the high school, put them into the old junior high. So now the high school is just 10, 11, 12. So at some point in time, they'll get full there again. And at that point in time, I'm guessing they'll need to
build a new high school.
Yeah. That's my guess. I don't know that for a fact. But
I won't hold you to it.
Yeah, thanks.
No, that's good. We just have seen, Waukee do it, Ankeny do it, split in high schools. It can tear a town apart if done incorrectly.
Yeah, sports teams in particular, people get pretty passionate about. Yeah. And it'll be interesting because Southeast Polk, the Rams, that name comes from Runnels, Altoona, Mitchellville schools. Mm. That's where they derive the mascot name, is from the name of the town. So it'll be interesting to see how that gets navigated.
Wow, yeah, I did not know that. We go to church out in Pleasant Hill, but I didn't know that's how the Rams came to be.
And they just consolidated as a district, I think, in the mid-'60s. That's when they came about as a district.
Cool. What else? What am I missing? What did you want to talk about that I haven't asked you?
We've got we still have a lot of land available. We probably have more residential developers now than we've maybe ever had. Temple is starting a new project. Bill Kimberly's got a project going. Jerry's
Temple
Homes.
is a new developer, new builder?
Yeah, they've got they've got a project or land on the south side of town, a lot of acres, 300 acres somewhere in that neighborhood, and they're just going to start their first plat this year. So everything's just kind of gotten to them now. Robert Kramer's got a development going, Dave Stubbs, and I'm missing a bunch of others.
Right.
But there's a lot of residential developers. Hubble's got a project.
It's getting started. And
and then we're going to be annexing, almost 1,000 acres to the east side of town that will open up even more land. Cool. We've got a large trunk sewer main on that side of town. We've got water availability. So I think we're pretty well set up from residential and commercial development, especially on the east and southeast side of town for a long time.
Yeah. When you say a long time, like?
Well, I mean, we've got
put words in your mouth,
we've got about 13 square miles of territory that we can develop with some of that sanitary sewer. So we'll be able to pretty much double in size.
Wow. Without major infrastructure headaches.
Improvements, yeah.
Yeah. Improvements. Cool.
Headaches and improvements. Same thing.
Sorry. That's how my
different way of saying it.
Very negative over here. I'm sorry. Cool. That's super exciting. It seems like you could, if you buy today, it's going to change in the next 10 years. But I don't think that's any different than any other of the metros.
Yep. Another big thing that's in the future that we're already planning towards is another interstate interchange. So we're working with Bondurant and Mitchellville. It'll be somewhere, east of town, somewhere, part of the process is doing studies and environmental studies to figure out exactly where you can put the thing. And then they're extremely expensive, and there's a window of time where the study is good before you have to do it again. So, but we're in the middle of kind of working towards that. I shouldn't say the middle. We're at the beginning of working towards some of those studies that will help figure out where that corridor is, and then hopefully getting that thing constructed. But you're probably 5, 10, 15 years out on something like that. Right,
but you have to, you
got to start somewhere.
That's where that is what you've learned makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Chad, I appreciate you coming on and just sharing your wealth of knowledge about Altoona and the growth structure and what agents can kind of help their clients with when they consider, is the east side right for them, and is it Altoona, or is it where else might it be?
My pleasure. And I guess if I had any advice for realtors, don't ever be afraid to call city staff.
Oh, I love
to
that.
ask questions. What is going to be behind this house? Things change so fast for realtors, for developers.
Yes.
Right now it's an open field. Right now it looks like it's a creek. What is going to be back there? Those are questions we're always willing to help walk realtors and buyers through.
And you usually know the answer.
Yes. Yep. Or we can give you a set of plans that'll show you what the developer's planning, if he's got the land back there, or if it's a different developer. That's where it gets even more complicated, I think, for realtors or buyers.
Yeah, but the city's willing. I mean, it's interesting.
You bet. Yeah, public information will share that stuff.
Yeah. That's huge to know, because I know I see it on Facebook groups with realtors all the time. What's going to happen at the corner of blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, most cities have a comp plan that's like planned out, and it can't vary that much.
Yeah.
So we generally know.
Yeah. There's some privileged information that, especially on the economic development side, where we can't maybe necessarily say exactly what's going to happen, even though we might know that they're working towards being able to announce that. And we like to let the businesses make those announcements when it's a business doing that. But especially on the residential side, we're absolutely able to share comp plans and plats of things going on.
Cool. Yeah. So y'all heard it here. Call them.
Yep. Don't be afraid.
Yeah. Appreciate it. Thanks for your all your work and civic duty.
Yeah. My pleasure.
Thanks, Chad.
Thanks.